Pairing students up seems like a simple move until it isn't. Some voices may dominate while others disappear. So today, we're sharing tips on how to make partner work actually work. That's all coming up on this episode of Sum Shenanigans. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Sum Shenanigans, a series that is designed to provide you with tangible teaching tips that you can implement in your classroom. My name is Adam. I'm a professional learning specialist at CPM. And with me today, as always, is the only one brave enough to actually co-host with me.
I'm Bree. Happy to be here with my brave face on.
And today, we are joined once more by one of the voices of CPM's More Math for More People podcast, Joel Miller.
That's me, More Math for More People, professional learning specialist with CPM here in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Heck yeah.
I got to say, I'm loving the attire today, Joel.
Thank you. Thanks. I dressed for the occasion.
So we're going to continue the episode. So this is the second episode of a little short 3-episode mini-series that we're doing here about multiple modes of instructions. And so just in case you didn't catch the first episode, which is on whole class discussions, first off, we encourage you to go back and give that a listen to. Some great strategies and advice for facilitating whole class discussion. But we're going to continue the conversation getting into partner work. So how to support partner work, what are some of our tips and advice? So just like last time, though, just kind of want to throw it. Well, again, Joel, as our guest of honor, we'll throw it to you first. When you think of partner work and, what that looks like, feels like, sounds like in the classroom, what are some of those initial thoughts?
Well, initially, I think of a partner, I think of a pair of students. So 2 students. And that could be, I think, turn and talk to somebody, or that could be we're a team. That's my support. That person is my partner through whatever it is we're going to learn that.
What about you, Bree? What are some of the initial thoughts or reflections you have about partner work?
Sorry about that. Ooh, when I thought about partner work, it's interesting. The first thing I thought of was that when I first started teaching CPM, I kind of initially, okay, hold on, pause. My face was distracting me. This might be a misty question. And so I turned off my camera, and now I'm wondering if that turned my camera off for both of you.
No, actually, see.
When I first started thinking about partner work, I started thinking about how when I first started teaching CPM, there were some classes where I would actually have students working exclusively in pairs. Whereas, most of my classes were in groups of 4. For some groups, I felt, I kind of observed that pairs was a good starting point for them. So that's what I first thought of.
Nice. Yeah, I think when I think of partner work, for me in my classroom and like just reflecting on my practices, it feels like the forgotten mode. Like there was a lot of emphasis on whole class discussion, and we were in small groups all the time. And I did some individual work, which is on the next episode, so make sure you tune in. But partner work was kind of that lost mode that I wish I would have utilized more. So, you look back, and of course, we all have those reflections, right?
So are you saying you would either do teams of 4 or a whole group, but not the pairs, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Partners.
Yeah. I rarely went into pair group. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, because I think I'm saying that for some classes, I was like, I think pairs is the way to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I sometimes found it like when we were sitting in groups of 4, it was easy to just say, okay, turn and talk to a partner. But I also didn't think about it. Maybe like, I guess similar to you, I maybe didn't think about that as a purposeful mode of instruction as much as I did, when it came to whole group instruction versus like purposefully having them do a study team and teaching strategy with their team of 4. Teams of 2 kind of felt a little casual at times too. It felt really, easy to just say, turn and talk to your elbow partner.
Yeah. I guess I find working with teachers that if the team roles, if a team of 4 seems daunting and seems difficult to manage, too much chaos in the room, maybe whatever the reasons are in a teacher's mind of why that's not working, that the partners seems more manageable as a tech.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think two groups of two, or I guess I keep calling them groups of two, but partners, um, partner work also, what I've noticed is that it can create a sense of safety for some students, where turning and talking to an elbow partner, especially if it's an elbow partner that you've had for a while, can feel a little more safe than sharing your ideas with the whole group. And that's part of why I kind of kept my students in groups of 2 at certain points of the year because, um, I saw a resistance with groups of 4, and so,
Mm.
starting with 2 helped build some safety, and I was able to do things like say, "Okay, turn and talk to your partner," and gradually start saying, "Okay, can you share with the whole group or the whole class what your partner said?"
Hmm.
Um, and saw that more students were a little more willing to do that when they discussed with the partner, which eventually kind of helped get everyone comfortable for teams of 4.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation because students like whole class discussions, there's obviously that anxiety that most students feel about sharing to the group. But even in that team of 4, right, especially if they've been there, if they're new to the group, um, there's probably that anxiety like, oh, what if I share this idea or share this work and it's wrong? Then I look embarrassed. So that safety of, okay, I'm going to share this idea or I'm going to share my thought or work with only one other additional person. I think, yeah, that's a good point. It brings that
Hmm.
safety and probably allows a little bit more freedom to and more willingness to want to share out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are your guys' some of your favorite or favorite partner work strategies? Like what are your go-to strategies for pairs of 2?
Well, I like to do a pairs check. So this is kind of like it starts in a pair, but ends up in a bigger group of 4, maybe, but it progresses through. So, like in a pairs check, I'm comfortable. I'm working with one partner, and then our partnership is going to go check what it is in the other with another partnership and check it against that. I think that's a fun strategy.
I like pairs check too for that initial again safety, but then you get to hear from others and then it creates
Yeah.
that cross pollination for sure.
Some of the strategies I recommend to teachers, especially newer teachers, are in general. My goal is like, what are some easy, low prep strategies that you can just kind of pull out at any time to move, like continue a lesson or continue a task. So when I think about that framing with partner work, I think about like a turn and talk. Like, and Bree, you mentioned this, right? But it's just a simple, like, you don't really have to prep. You could kind of
Yeah.
use the strategy spontaneously, right? Whether you,
Mhm.
intentionally planned it in the lesson or it's just, I feel like it would fit good here, right? You can just use it. But if you're not familiar, just the turn and talk is just literally kind of in the name, right? Like, okay, turn to your partner and then talk. Ideally, you want something focused for them to speak about, talk about, just to guide their instructions. But that's kind of like a easy, low prep. Like I said, don't need too much planning ahead of time to just go ahead and utilize that one.
Mhm.
I love any strategy that is low prep and just gets kids talking. All right.
Right.
So yeah, just turn and talk. Simple.
Or even the proximity partner. So you're still looking for a partner, but you sense in the room an energy shift needs to change.
Mm.
So I want you to stand up and move somewhere else and have that
Yeah.
discussion.
That
So
adds
that's
a nice little layer of movement to that for
mhm.
sure. I really like to use the reciprocal teach, or I would call it the player's coach strategy, where I would have students kind of teach each other about something. So it might be a review problem, or maybe they're just explaining something that we learned the day before. I would ask students to
Mhm.
teach each other as if that student was absent. And so, and then they would switch roles. So that gave students a little extra push to share their thinking on something. And I would always encourage them to ask questions. And sometimes I would even give them a little whiteboard. And if they were just, I'd say, go ahead and teach this problem to your partner. Instead of just having them do the problem, I would say, you need to explain why you did what you just did.
Mm.
Um, I found that that really helped take skills practice to another level, where it wasn't just like, we're going to do some drill and kill. That added conversation with like with just a partner, I think made that time a little more meaningful, and pushing them to say more than just like what they wrote down, explaining the why. I think, yeah, made that time a lot more meaningful.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And we're listing a bunch of strategies here. Like I could even throw in like a silent debate or a dyad, or there are a variety of different strategies. But I like what you just said there about getting deeper in your thinking, justifying things like that. And there's a math language routine called a clearer and stronger, where it might help students get to that same point. And it has to do with like presentations. So if I'm practicing with a partner first, that might lead to me thinking deeper, me practicing the language, the understanding of the concept, things like that, into where now I can present to more people.
Yeah. And like particularly like that strategy because you're working together and
Mm-hmm.
bouncing ideas off of each other to refine your thinking. So it's
Yeah.
really, really uh, leans into that collaboration, to think more deeply. Yeah.
And as we're sharing all these different strategies, I feel like it's 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 coming out to me that partner work seems like it's best for when you want students to get that focused feedback, right? Like we want them to get something specific. Whole class, they might not be able to get that individually. They're not definitely not getting that if they're working on their own. And then even a small group might still be too big. But if we want students to get that targeted feedback on something specific, I'm almost it's like it's the rough draft time, right? When they're in partner work, it's that rough draft time to share an idea, get some feedback, and so I'm just noticing that trend with all of our strategies.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that whole group idea too. Of if I had a topic where lots of students wanted to raise their hand and be a part of that whole group discussion, I could jump to a pairs strategy or a partner strategy, so that all those voices could be heard in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of the strategy think, pair, share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just, uh, the whole group time just flows very naturally after that time to independently think, share with one person, and then go and share with everyone else. Um, and hear many strategies after you've had that focus time. I liked how you pointed that out, Adam, that pairs work is really, really effective when you give students time to focus on something in particular.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as we kind of wrap this up, are any other thoughts or last minute reflections as you think about partner work, and just any other thoughts or strategies, maybe as you think about your classroom visits?
I would just continue to encourage teachers to try these strategies. There's a lot out there. Partners, to me, feels like a nice strategy for students and teachers to engage in some collaboration. And so, however you're doing it, for whatever mode, pay attention to what's happening during that time as well. So maybe you really like that strategy that is in your bag now, and you can continue to use it in the future.
Absolutely.
And if you use CPM, there's just a reminder that you can find all these strategies listed out in the teacher tab of your ebook. So that's there. If you're not a CPM user, hopefully your curriculum has some suggestions for different strategies. And then we mentioned it earlier, the mathematics language routines, MLRs, sometimes they're referred to. We recommend that you give those a search and, read through those and see what could also support partner work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we're ready for a summary.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. You're all episode.
Go for it, Adam.
All right. So as we kind of consolidate these ideas, just some things to keep in mind for partner work is, really use partner work to elevate skills practice as opportunities for students to provide that peer feedback to each other, to receive that. Think of it as a way to get some rough draft thoughts and feedback out for students. Think of partner work, consider using it to support whole group discussion, right? You're having a whole group discussion. Maybe we'll just have them turn and talk and share out some ideas that are coming to them as they're listening to a whole group discussion. And then again, it's an opportunity to fine tune those ideas within the safety of just one other person. It's low maintenance, right? Look for strategies that, you can utilize anytime, like a turn and talk, to help support and facilitate your partner work. All right. And I think with that, we're good on partner work.
I think so. I think you've summed it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one.
You should.
If you're audio only, I'm patting myself on the back. All right. As we exit here, a reminder, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And don't forget to drop a comment below. What are your, partner strategies that have worked for you in your classroom, or, share what stood out to you in this episode. We really look forward to reading those. And so with that, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you next time.